What is up, y'all? My name is Brandon. Let's talk about some books. So I know it's been like 2 months. It's been longer than I want. I was a little bit sick for the past couple weeks, and unfortunately, I was just so congested I could not sit and talk and it'd be enjoyable for anybody to hear. So I just kind of put it on hold for a little bit, and I wanted to make sure I was good before I did another one. So I'm feeling a lot better, and I'm ready to talk about some stuff. So I've read a lot in the last 2 months. I know I was getting ready to read Schattenfroh, and I actually just finished it a couple days ago. Actually, probably last weekend. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of what I have read in the past 2 months since I have posted my last video, what I'm currently reading, and then I'm probably going to hang off on what I'm going to read before the end of the year, but I will be doing a video of the last month or so, kind of the few books that I'm planning to read. This is not in any particular order, by the way. I did read, not this entire volume, but I did read a few of T.S. Eliot's poems. I read The Wasteland, and then I read Proof Rock and some other poems that he's had in here, but The Wasteland is what I really wanted to read out of here, and I mean, it's just incredible. I think everybody needs to read that, and it needs to be something that you closely read, not just kind of read it through and be like, okay. You really need to go through and use a guide and figure out what his references are, and really dive into the language of what he's doing with each stanza in The Wasteland, because it's absolutely amazing. The way he condenses so much of not only the human experience, but referentiality into such small sections that still honestly do flow narratively, with that sense of calling back to past works, and it is very pessimistic, I think, and probably that's why I like it so much. But I did you can just see, for example, I did mark so much of it as I was going through when I was using the guide. This is 2 of the pages, and then this is towards the end, but the last one, there was just so much in that last one that I just had to it's just amazing. Using foreign languages and everything, you just need to go through and really take your time and see what it's all about. And so I highly recommend that for anybody, especially if you like the things that I read or post about or talk about or whatever. I really think you should definitely read at least The Wasteland. I plan to do this entire thing, including his plays, at some point, but I wanted to focus on The Wasteland for that first kind of read that I was going through for him, because I really haven't read him before. But I'm very, very happy with this so far, so I'll get to that, the rest of those eventually. Second, which is just posted a review on Instagram for this, and it is A Short Stay in Hell by Stephen L. Peck, and this book is incredible. It's so thematically dense in such a short, in such a small amount of pages, that I think it just begs to be read again. And I very, very likely will pick this up again before the end of this year, just because it's so easy to read. And there's so many little themes that pop up that kind of really hit hard when you think about what we generally think of as an afterlife, the Christian kind of the more accepted view of the afterlife. I think this subverts that somewhat. So it's based off of Jorge Luis Borges, the Library of Babel, where every book that could possibly be written is in this library, and Stephen L. Peck takes that idea and makes that to be like hell. And so these people have to go through this library and find the single book that contains the story of their life in order to kind of move on to a proper heaven. And it's so harrowing, I think. It's haunting, it's dark, but it's also very funny, which is pretty crazy that he's able to condense those themes into a book that is actually very funny. Particularly like one of the first scenes with when they arrive in hell, and the demon is talking to them. Like, it's actually hilarious, and like when you read it, you'll see what I mean. But it's so good how he can take those themes and bring them into this such a minute set of words that just captures so much of what we think of when we think of our existence as not just a person but as a soul. So this is amazing, and I highly recommend this. It's worth reading 2 or 3 times in the same span of just a few months for certain. So definitely go read this. And go read my review on Instagram because I thought I did a pretty good job. All right, the most recent book that I finished is last night, actually. I finished YN by Esther Yi. This is her debut novel. It's not translated. She is currently living in Germany, but she is not. She's born in America, or in the United States. So this book it surprised me with the way that the writing felt so kind of, I don't know the right word. I wouldn't say ethereal, but more like a little bit more flowery than you would think that a debut novel would be. But it's just, there's such heavy hitting quotes in here and just passages that I think blew my mind. I do want to read one. Go. This is page 184. So this is like, she meets this, she's kind of like obsessed with this celebrity who's part of this kind of like K-pop like group, and she ends up writing this story called, well, it doesn't have a title in there actually, but the title of the book, YN, refers to a story that uses YN as a device where the reader would place their name in that spot. So it's kind of allowing you to take part in the story. So YN stands for your name. So she ends up meeting this person later on, and this is not a spoiler or anything like that. I think you should. I do think you should read this, but this is kind of after she's met him. It says, "I'm not a stranger, you know me. All of your videos, pictures, messages, they were for me. Don't make that face. It's true. You couldn't have known it at the time since you didn't know who I was, but you didn't need to. Our connection preceded us. I've spent my entire life training myself to feel the feelings I have for you. My perception has been perfectly notched to match the gear of your personality. Don't think I haven't heard this all before," he said. "That can't be true," I said, vexed. "No one thinks like I do. Look, 5 months ago I was in Germany watching videos of you. Now I'm here. But I feel farther away from you than ever. I don't miss you because I love you. I love you because I miss you. I used to love the emptiness of my computer screen just for having once contained you." Moon's face showed neither confusion nor understanding. Moon is the character that she becomes obsessed with. "Germany," he repeated. "It doesn't matter. Where I come from doesn't matter. I use all of me to know you. Knowing you is the most serious task of my life. I love the world I hate simply because you live in it." And then she goes on a little bit longer, but I just think like that idea of yearning, I think we use that in kind of a a satirical way when we think about things that we like in books or things that stand out thematically. But I think that honestly is something that we don't really share with a lot of people. And I feel like this book kind of brings you into this feeling of, it kind of releases some things that you honestly might think, but you're not willing to say to other people. And I think that great books are great because they allow you to do that. And I think that this is actually, for sure, like, it's probably top 10 that I've read this year at this point. Let me read one more short passage real quick. Have you been reading as if your life depends on it? She liked to ask the boys. Have you been reading as if every single sentence could be true? So that as soon as you build an affinity for the ideas of one book, another book comes along with ideas of its own. And as soon as you think it's one versus the other, dozens of other books appear, parts of some aligning with parts of others, sowing confusion in your soul. Have you been reading until you feel sick on everything you know? I'm going to let that one speak for itself, but there's tons of passages like that I underlined quite a lot in here. So I think the ending was okay. It did not blow me away at all. Perhaps if I had just kind of flown through it, it might have sat a little bit differently with me, but I did like piece it out a little bit, and I read maybe 15, 20 pages at a time. And so I did really, 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 really like it for more of the writing than the plot necessarily, but as a debut, I think this is amazing and very well written. So props to her for writing this as a debut. All right, I've got a really short little novella that honestly I really didn't know what to think of it when I read it. It was sent to me by Diagnostic Books. This is Henrytown by Chris Erickson. And I think this is based off of some stories that were told over the radio like years ago. And it's kind of like inspired by that. It's very disjointed, kind of like just scenes of this town, and it's very unsettling. I think that it has its moments of being good, but I think knowing the stories of this, of its conception, or knowing how it relates to the original, recordings or whatever this is, I think it's a deeper thing that requires a little bit more background knowledge in order to fully grasp and enjoy as much as it can be enjoyed. So I do think it could be worth doing. I don't plan on doing a whole lot of that, but I do think that it's worth reading because it's so short, and just to see what you think about it. It's very strange, and like name-wise, it's very strange. Writing-wise, it's strange. It has kind of like a almost like an alien feel at times. I don't really know how to describe it other than, it does feel a little bit extraterrestrial at times. And this doesn't have a dust jacket or anything like that. It's just kind of this. I think I showed this on here once before. But yeah, I don't really still even know what to think about this. I think it's worth reading just because it's so short, but I mean, did I enjoy it? Not particularly. I wouldn't say that it was super memorable or anything like that, but I do have a lot of books that Diagnostic Books sent me, so I'm definitely excited to get to more of that just because this is the kind of stuff they publish. I'm definitely interested in seeing what else they've got that might pique my interest. I've got 3 more that I finished in the past 2 months, and already I think that's not too much actually, considering that T.S. Eliot's only mainly The Wasteland. Wuthering Heights by Emily Brontë. I did a review on this on Instagram that did very well, actually. And actually writing that review, I did kind of like a weird thing. I wrote it as like a love letter from Heathcliff, one of the main characters, to Catherine, who is his lover in the beginning, middle parts of the book before more events happen in the plot. I don't really want to spoil anything, although you probably have either read it or you know what happens in it. And that, honestly, I took a lot out of myself to put into that review as a love letter. And I think it helped me to appreciate the thematic elements of this book more than just the plot of being this strange, dramatic group of people that are living in these two estates, and they kind of get on your nerves a little bit, which is absolutely true. They honestly, like, it's kind of exhausting sometimes, the level of drama that they go through when it's like seemingly minor things that it's just like, why are you reacting a certain way to this? And I think that's part of the time period, but also just it was done on purpose for this book. But I did like it thematically. I think plot-wise, it was just like okay, not that much happens. It's told mainly through hearsay from a servant to somebody living in the estate currently. And I think that threw me off a little bit, just because I don't think that really did anything for the story. I think when you get to the end of it, it's just kind of like, what was the point of doing it like that? Not to say that the writing isn't good. I think that just the narrative structure just wasn't it for me. And I think that's totally fair criticism to make. I don't think that I'm saying anything negative about the book. I think that this book, being Emily's only novel, shows that she was great, and she was a great writer, thematically and both on a level of her literal writing. So I do think it's worth reading, and I don't know if I plan on seeing the movie, because I've heard that it does not look like it's going to do it for many people. I think that like the vibes in the movie are kind of not what's in the book, and yeah, I don't know. We'll see when it comes out how it gets received, but yeah, I don't know. I do think people should read this book, though. I think you're on the fence about it. I think you should read it. If you read it slowly, that's totally fine. If you choose to blow through it, I think that's also fine. But I do think you should read it, because being written in, was it 1847? I mean, this is almost 200 years ago, and she's writing this about, the human condition, human nature, and our ability to feel so deeply. That's still so applicable today. So, yeah, I do recommend it with some caveats. All right, two more. I read Augustus by John Williams. This book is great. Part 3, where you see Augustus writing his letter after you hear so much about him throughout, just from other people. I think it hits so hard, and I tabbed quite a lot in this, and just like, I think at the last section I could have underlined or tabbed or done something to every page, just because it just so much of it, you can feel so deeply how impactful the weight of everything is for Augustus. I'm going to read at least this one passage, and then I'll see kind of if I flip through, if I kind of land on another one. This is on page 280. It seems to me now, as my own life is slowly trickling away, that there was a kind of symmetry in their lives that my own has not had. And he's talking about his old friends who have all died. My friends died at the height of their powers, when they had accomplished their work and yet had further triumphs to look forward to. nor were they so unfortunate to come to believe that their lives had been lived for nothing. For nearly 20 years, it seems to me now, my life has been lived for nothing. Alexander was fortunate to have died so young, yet else he would have come to know that if to conquer a world is a small thing, to rule it is even less. I think that captures a lot of what this book's trying to do, to tell the story of a man who, when he gets to the end of his life, he realizes that it's kind of like, did anything matter up until that point? And he has nothing now. He kind of is alone, and he has to deal with the fact that his life was lived seemingly for nothing, and that there seems to be some kind of hope that you must have, that what you do now is going to matter later on, and what you do now is going to echo back in later generations. So I think that book is amazing. It is epistolary, which I don't know if I mentioned when I was talking about it before, but it's written through letters and kind of like journal entries and stuff like that. And I think that the reason I would say, if you want to read this, that it's not one that you should read like a few pages at a time. I do think you should read like 30 pages at a time, because if you are reading like one or two of these little sections, you're going to get lost, because it skips around so much and the perspectives are so isolated that you need to kind of, at each point of your reading, to really get a full picture of what the perspectives are that you're seeing, so you can appreciate how they are interconnected. But this book is, again, this is going to be one of the best books that I've read this year, without a doubt. So definitely read this if you have not yet. All right, now the last one that I have read since the last time I was on here is Schattenfroh by Michael Lentz, translated by Max Lawton. I tabbed, focus, come on, quite a lot. And I took a lot of notes in a notebook. Probably took like 30 pages of notes, to be honest with you. But this book, you could read all the way through and then start back at the beginning, and it may feel like an entirely different book because of the complexity and the layers that are there. I just watched a video, Chris Via's video on Leaf by Leaf, reviewing this book, and I think he makes some amazing connections. I don't know if I agree with everything that he says, but I do appreciate at least in the beginning of his review, he talks about the levels of authority that are kind of addressed in this book, and I think that hits the nail on the head. Like, I think that the bottom line of this book is Lentz's relationship with his father, and his ability to deal with not only that relationship, but his father's death. And I think that for that reason, this is called a requiem, not a novel, because yes, it's a novel, but it's more than that. It's a letter from his mind to himself and to his father and to whatever God there is that's over ruling over his life and his situations. But that's on a broad scale. I think on a much narrower scale, I do want to do a review of this properly, and I don't know if people would be interested in that. I do think that it's worth doing one because of how dense it is. It's not difficult to read. I will say that. It's not complex in the language. It's complex in the levels that it releases its, I don't know the right word there, it releases its energy to the reader, and how it unlocks itself. It is complex there, but it's not complex on a sentence to sentence basis by any means. And if you're interested again in anything that in a lot of the books that I talk about, this is not going to be for everybody 100%. I will say, even if you are interested in a lot of the books that I talk about, this is not going to be for you. So I will say, maybe look at some reviews of this book before and to see whether or not you might be interested in it. But I really enjoyed it. I think that, in a few years I'll reread this and, see what I think about it then. But overall, I think D. Vellum did something great by publishing this, and it's going to be one that I think in years to come that people are going to look at this book and think that they maybe had it wrong or they kind of misjudged it on a first read or even a second read, or just by looking at it and thinking that it's about something that really it's much deeper than that. So I do recommend it, but just again with some caveats, like it's not going to be for everybody. I do know people that are into the same kind of things that put it down pretty early within the first 300 or 400 pages, but it is 1,000 pages, so keep that in mind. There's plenty of room for it to grow on you as you go, but it's really hard to get 500 pages into something and then you feel like it's not good enough, and then it feels like a waste of time to keep going. You just end up putting it down. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. So that is everything that I've finished since the last time I was on here. I'm currently still reading 4 books. I'm going to go through those really quickly, and then honestly that'll probably be it. I'll do a video on my TBR for the rest of the year, which is going to be fairly short, I think. Probably the rest of this year, and then maybe my first most important picks for next year. So the first one that I am just about finished with but still reading is Same Bed, Different Dreams by Ed Park. And this book is almost like a alternate history book that kind of deals with this this hidden underground group called the Korean Provisional Government, and basically how they're involved in so much of history up until the present day, with characters like McKinley and Reagan and Marilyn Monroe and just leaders of countries, and kind of just blending history, fiction, conspiracy with this sense of humor and sense of almost not whimsy, but similar to that word, how it's kind of just these things are all connected. We might as well enjoy seeing each, interconnection that we can find throughout. But I will have more to say once I'm finished with it. I will say I got very high praise about this book. I don't know if I feel quite up to that level, whether I'm willing to say that it is one of the best books that I've read this year just yet. I don't know if it has to do with the way that I'm reading it or reading it in conjunction with a lot of other books. I don't know. I don't know. It's something about it is making me feel a little off. So I'll see how I feel when I finish, and I'll have some more to say for sure. But I got about 100 pages, maybe a little bit less to go in that. Next up, I am currently about 70 pages into America and the Cult of the Cactus Boots, a Diagnostic by Phillip Freedenberg. And then there's plenty of illustrations in here by Jeff Walton. We're doing a group read on Instagram right now for this, and with Phillip Freedenberg and Jeff Walton. And I think that's really cool just to see you can go in there and just ask, why did you do this? Or, I really think this part of the book is cool. I think that this sentence is amazing, or this paragraph, this section, whatever it is, and to have them be able to respond and give their input or their response to you saying something is really cool. And this is basically just almost like it says it's a book written about a book about writing a book while waiting for a book to arrive in the mail. And when that book they're waiting for is The Manifold Destiny of Eddie Vegas by Rick Harsh, who is the chief editor of Corona Samizdat, who published this. He's also just recently had a stroke, so definitely keep him in your thoughts just because he is publishing some amazing stuff. So definitely think of him, his family, and everything in this time, because I know things are difficult for him right now. But I mean, the cover is just crazy. Like I mean, I really don't know what to say about it so far, other than it's really out there. It does have a narrative, somewhat, but the way it's written is just, sentences are incredible. The way that Phillip Freedenberg writes is amazing. I'll give one example right here because this one just like hit me, and I had to mark this one. It's very short, but doesn't take away from how hard it hits. The cult of the cactus boots is born as we in totality become the illuminated flames of the collapsing celestial sun. We are day one of the new birth. We are the dawn of the new cosmos. I mean, like, come on, that's insane. Like, just writing that sentence alone, to me, is just amazing. There was another one that really hit me when I was reading, actually. I think it was last night. If I can find it really quick. Yeah. Everything, including ourselves, always has this nagging feeling of being so conceivably real, yet it slips just away from our grasp the moment we reach out to feel for the edging of its most unusual contours. Who is driving this corpse, and how have we forgotten the beauty of these temporary, multiform terrestrial vessels, both yours and mine? Like I said, I'm only up to about page 70, so I'm sure that things would get even crazier, but very good so far. I've heard very good things about that, and I see why. So, last two books I've got right here, The Secret Lives of Public Servants by Anne Lévesque. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, and I apologize. This is just, so far, again, I'm only about 65 pages into this one. It's kind of this person named Dell. She's going around and finding these lost annuitants who are people that work at this office or who did work at this office, and kind of looks at their past, their present, the office life. And I will say this is very funny too. It has like some voice. The voice in this is just amazing. I don't know if it's the editor or the author herself who kind of who is almost like injected into this. This is also a group read I'm doing on Instagram with some people. It was organized by one of my friends, Buddy, on Instagram. He is a huge fan of just really small publishers, and he put this out there for everybody. And so far, I think it's been successful. Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be something that there's plenty of discussion about. And yeah, I'd recommend you pick this up for sure. I think if you're interested in out there structurally, narratively, and just kind of like quirky, although I don't really love using that word, writing, I think this checks a lot of those boxes, and this would be for you for sure. Finally, I will finish with a brilliant book that I am a little over halfway done with, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. The writing in this book is amazing. I don't know how it took me so long to read this book, but I don't know, like going from reading a classic like Wuthering to this is so much better to me. And I'm so glad that I can find like some classics like this and Count of Monte Cristo that I genuinely like a lot, because sometimes I just feel like classics don't do it for me. But this one absolutely is amazing. And this is the revised edition. It does have some notes of the original 1818 edition, but this is the one from 1831, which I'm not super concerned with whether I'm reading the one from 1818, 1831. I think it might be worth noting, but is it going to detract from the major themes of the novel? No. The blurb on the back from the New York Times, I think, is really cementing itself into my mind as what it really is. It says that rare story to pass from literature into myth. And that to me makes me think of how we have changed this story as in terms of what it has become in our current society versus what it really is in here. When we think of Frankenstein and the creature as this horrific being that was like a mad scientist, when that's not what this is at all. And I just think that, especially around this time, around Halloween, I was trying to read something that was a little bit along those lines, and I'm pleasantly surprised, because this to me, yes, it's like a spooky story, but it's not scary. And if anything, it's kind of sad, just kind of melancholy with how some of the writing is. And I'm at the part right now the creature is kind of sharing his story with Frankenstein. So yeah, I'm about at 130, page 130, and it's about 220 maybe. Let me see. Yeah, 225-ish. So I'm excited to finish this and see how all those themes kind of interact. But definitely one of the best books that I've read this year, for sure. This is going to be up there, which is kind of crazy to me that it's one that I probably should have read before now. But nevertheless, it definitely is up there. All right, y'all. I think that'll do it for this. Like I said, I will do another video about the books that I'm planning to read before the end of the year. Hopefully, if not next week, in a couple weeks. I'm going to plan on finishing all of these probably in the next like 3 weeks. And then I'll kind of be able to talk about them a little bit more and kind of share the next ones that I'm reading, which I'm very excited about. And at least 3 of the ones that I'm planning to read are ones that I've been highly anticipating. And the next pension that I'm planning to read is in there too. So that's definitely interesting and hopefully exciting, if not only for me, for other people to kind of see my journey through some of these authors. So if you like the video, please make sure to like it. Leave a comment on what is the best book you have read in the past 2 months. So kind of stay with me here. If you are, I've been gone for a couple months. I want to see what some other people have been reading in the last couple months, and I will try to respond to every comment. That's my goal. And yeah, subscribe, please. Helps me out just to like get my stuff out there. I just want to share what I'm reading and good books and get recommendations and give recommendations, and so all that's definitely helpful for me. So yeah, I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend, whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you on the next one. Read something you love. Peace.